Katie.
What's up? How's it going? Welcome to our podcast.
Yes, here we are. We're doing it.
Here we are. We are Hayley and Katie, and we have small businesses.
Yes.
The end. Bye. And we have huge crushes on small businesses, so we thought, let's make a little podcast to talk about small business and teach people how to have a small business.
Yeah.
And what's it called?
Small Biz Forever Pod.
Small Biz Forever.
Yeah. And our friendship really grew and developed because of our small businesses. We came to like know each other and start talking because we were talking shop a lot. Really mostly me just asking you questions because you're so much more ahead of me. And that's something that you're going to learn, dear listener, is that I don't really know what I'm doing. So Katie is the one that knows what's up.
No, that's not true either.
I'm still trying to figure it all out, but I got my girl Katie here. And she can usually answer my questions when I have them.
Oh, that's nice. That's good to know. So first we'll talk about what the podcast is all about, who the podcast is for. Then we'll talk about who we are, why we think that we are credentialed to be here in the first place. And then we'll give you a little taste of what the pod's going to look like with a little snippet at the end. We'll talk about failure tolerance and listening to your gut and following your gut in small business.
Absolutely.
So what we plan to cover and who the pod is for, let's start there. So we are a feminist podcast for creatives. Creatives is a pretty general term. So you can have a service-based business, a product-based business. You can be an artist, a painter. You can make candles. You can make Christmas ornaments all year long. You could edit podcasts. I know a couple of small business owners that do podcast editing, and they have an entire business for it. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about anything that has to do with running a creative business. And then ultimately, we want to help other creatives grow a values-based business by teaching how we're doing it in our own businesses.
Yeah. So we're going to be having episodes that will include topics like preventing burnout, failure tolerance, what it takes to run a small business, which is lots and lots of different things. So there will be lots of topics to cover there. Marketing strategies, building community, why generative AI sucks. We're going to talk a lot about that. So if you're like an AI fan, you're not going to enjoy this podcast.
No.
I'm going to, you can stop listening now. I'm going to put it out there. Niching down, how to incorporate politics into your business if you want to. And generally just how to like show up in your business authentically, how to show your values in your business, and hopefully how to have fun and enjoy it while you're doing it.
Yeah. Because if you're not having fun,
why are we here?
Is the point?
Why are we here?
So we do plan to talk about mindset topics, but we also want to talk about actionable, step-by-step ways to do things and give like actual to-do lists.
Y'all are getting homework.
Yeah, there's a literal homework section because we have too many Capricorn placements in both of our charts to not be given homework.
We're going to talk about astrology a lot.
Oh yeah, yes, I forgot what we talked about doing that. So yeah, we plan to leave you with homework. We'll also have guests along the way who are smarter than us to chat about different business-related topics. We want to do live coaching, maybe coach each other.
100%.
Maybe have somebody on to coach us, which I guess is what the guests who are smarter than us would be doing.
Yeah. But I thought it'd be really fun if we have listeners that are interested in being a guest that want to either start a small business or that are like maybe in the beginning stages or even later, but need help with a certain topic. They can kind of come on and we can do a live coaching session there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can help them.
Absolutely. So who is this pod for, Katie? Anyone that wants to start a business, anyone looking to grow their business, anyone looking to turn their hobby into a business. This could be relevant for folks that are many years into their business, and this can be for folks that are literally just getting started or that are looking for some inspiration to keep going if you feel like you're stuck.
And PSA, we will be cursing sometimes. I have held back so far. But it'll probably come out. We'll also be talking about politics, like we already said. Current events might come up because we just can't keep silent about the atrocities that are happening in our country. And just so you know, we are progressive, feminist, liberal girlies.
We sure are, and that's going to be very obvious very quickly. So if you're interested, follow us along on Instagram and Threads at SmallBizForeverPod. Sign up for our newsletter so you can be notified when we drop new episodes. And the newsletter sign up can be found at the link in our Instagram bio.
Anyways, so let's talk about each of us, what our lore is, where we started, who we are, how old we are, what's your astro sign, how many cats do you have?
Yes.
The important stuff.
Yeah. Well, so, hi, this is Hayley. I'm the ornament girl. I'm known around town sometimes as Ornament Girl. I started my small business, North Shore Locals Ornaments, at the end of 2024, going into 2025. This was a pivot from a previous small business that I started in 2022, which was literally just like a little bit of everything. This was more of like a hobby that I just needed to pay for itself. But I was doing markets. I had my website, social media. I had all the beginnings of a business without taking it very seriously. So I switched over to North Shore Locals Ornaments after having a product, an ornament, that essentially went mini viral in my hometown. Here we are, in Beverly, Massachusetts. And I guess I should tell the story of kind of what happened. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I'd say so, because this is a big part of how you niched your business down. So
it was either September or October of 2024. I had put out an ornament, the Cabot Cinema ornament, and I put it on the local Facebook page. I truly thought nothing of it. I was like, I think this is a cute idea. I had, we'll talk more about this later, but I had purchased a very fancy laser and was trying to figure out what to make with this new laser machine. And this was just one of the first things that I came up with that I really liked. So I put it on the Facebook page. And I'm like, you know what? I bet I'll sell 20 of these. This will be a cute little thing going into the holidays. That ended up turning into, from the time that I dropped that first ornament in, I think it was September, until literally Christmas, I made 250 ornaments of 4 different styles. Now, these are hand-painted ornaments, so they're not things that I can just kind of knock out really quickly. I spent all of my time from the moment that dropped until Christmas knocking out these ornaments. They just became really popular really quick, and what happened, because the product that I put out was super local, I was getting a lot of recommendations for other places to do, and I was getting a lot of excitement. And truth be told, the reason why I only made 250 is because I literally just couldn't have made any more in that period of time. But I knew really quickly that there was something there, that there was excitement there, that people really liked it. I was getting so much good feedback about it that I kind of just immediately knew within a couple weeks of it blowing up that this was going to be the new direction for my small business going forward.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah, just within a week, I was like, "Oh, this is it. This
is the thing."
Because I was kind of floundering. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of making lots of stuff, and I knew that I wanted to take it more seriously, which is why I had invested in the laser. So when I kind of had
tell everybody what the fuck a laser is? What are you talking about?
Yeah. So I have an X tool. It's a 40-watt laser. It's this big machine that cuts, scores, and engraves lots of different materials. I exclusively work in wood, but it can do acrylic, it can score metal, leather, lots of different types of material. And I'll talk more about why I bought the laser and what kind of got me interested in it. But I just knew right away that this was a hit. At the time, I was also extraordinarily pregnant. So I think that at the time that I had released that first ornament, I was 32 or 33 weeks pregnant. So I was I painted my final ornament 2 days after my due date. And I gave birth to my second son on Christmas Eve. So it was just very kismet-y that I had this Christmas-based business. I had a Christmas baby. And it just felt like the universe was telling me this is it. Niche down, do this.
So cute.
So
and you just and
it's been just laser focused ever since. So then the beginning of 2025, after I'd had my son, I rebranded and started getting the wheels in motion to like do like a full rebrand of my business. Had to come up with strategies, and I knew at that point I was like, I really care about this. I want to take it very seriously, and started doing things for that business that I didn't honestly even know what to do for the other business. We could talk more about that later. So that's how my business got started. So it's still fairly new. I'm only in my second year of it. My first year was awesome. For me, I felt like it was super successful. I'm excited, going into this second year. And I look forward to kind of like talking about what strategies have worked, what's not, what I've learned. And then in addition to being a small biz lady, I'm also a personal trainer. So I do that 12 hours a week. I have 2 young kids. I have a 7-year-old and an 18-month-old. I got 2 cats. I got a husband I got to take care of. I'm busy. Softball's about to start up.
I hope you take care of each other, you and the husband.
We do. Softball's about to start. I got to work out. I got stuff to do. But I enjoy very much what I do, and it's a lot of fun. So it's okay to be busy.
You're only in your second year of business, though. Those other years they got you here, and you can't discredit those. They gave you experience. That is what started. Without that, you wouldn't have been where you wouldn't have just landed on Christmas ornaments from out of nowhere.
Yes, yeah. So it's not. I guess it's my 4th year, 5th year,
sure.
Something like that.
I don't know what year.
Started in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
4th year. Nice.
Yeah. So that's me.
And you're a Capricorn.
I'm a Capricorn. I am a Capricorn sun. I am a Libra rising, and I'm an Aries moon, which means I have 3 cardinal placements for my big 3, which explains a lot about my personality, I think.
Okay. I don't know what cardinal means.
The cardinal signs are like the leader signs. So they're like at the start of each season. So they are the signs that tend to like be the like doers, the go-getters, the changers, the like.
I did not know that.
We're like kind of bossy.
Is Taurus a cardinal sign? What is Taurus?
No, you are.
I'm pretty bossy.
You are a fixed sign. Yeah, which means that you like your ways.
That's true.
You're kind of like steady Eddie on like what you like to do, and it like kind of takes a lot for you to change certain things about either like your lifestyle or your habits or whatever.
Sure. Should we talk about my business?
Hell
how
yeah.
I got started?
Girl, tell the tale.
I have a candle making business called So Much Brighter, and I started in 2014 in my kitchen. I did a short stint in a camper in which I drove.
That needs to be an entire episode.
Drove across the country for 9 months.
It's an interesting story.
Candles in a kitchen camper. Anyway, let's talk about that a different time. Anyway, it was mostly out of my kitchen until I moved into a studio in 2020. Then I moved into a store front in 2021. What is it about my business? What do I do? I make soy candles. They're vegan. I started the business because I wanted to have a small business. I wasn't making something and then was like, let me see if I can make this a business. I literally grew up my whole life thinking I need to have a small business. How do I do that? Because my parents had small businesses. So that was just like the goal. And then when I got so sick of working for the man, I finally got real serious about figuring it out. And candles just came to me. And it felt like a way that checked all the boxes. I could incorporate art, working with my hands, just manual labor, which for some reason I like. And so just candles came to me. I started researching it, and then I just hit the ground running. I think I was full-time doing the business after only 6 months because I hated the full-time job so much, and I just took a huge risk.
What were you doing at the time?
I worked at a software company called MathWorks.
What?
I was in customer service. Listen, I really like customer service. And that experience helps me in retail, because what we're doing here is retail. And it was a fine company. They, gave bonuses every quarter to their employees. And that's how I started the business. I had a little $300 bonus.
Hey.
And I bought a bunch of jars and wax, and that's how I started, and just grew from there. So you don't really need a lot of money, and I'm proof of that to start. You do need to have work for a software company that gives you bonuses.
Sure.
Of course. Anyway, so, you know, I just was determined from the start to make it happen, make it succeed. And so when I was still working at the software company, I spent all day working and then like 6 or 7 hours at night just researching how to have a business in the nighttime and then on the weekends, and doing markets 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I didn't stop that for 3 years until my body was like, help. Anyway, so then eventually, fast forward to 2021, I was looking for a larger manufacturing space because my business actually blew up a little bit in the pandemic because people were staying at home and they wanted their houses to be cozy. So candles did really well, fortunately. I know that wasn't the case for everybody. So I quickly needed to move out of my tiny little kitchen because it was taking over everything, and got a studio quickly. A couple months later, needed a second studio. I really just ultimately needed a large manufacturing space. So I was looking in the North Shore of Beverly, Massachusetts, for a production space that had a garage door. And I couldn't find one. And one day I was talking to my friend, and she was like, why don't you try retail? And I was like, oh, great idea. So the next day I looked for retail spaces, and the space that I have now was the first place that popped up. It had production space in the back, it had a garage door, and it had a store. And I was like, I'll give that a try. And I went to view it, and my gut was so strong. We'll talk about following your gut intuition. My gut was so strong that I had to do it, that I just was like, how do I get this? Like, sign me up. Where's the line to sign my name? And then the next week I signed the lease, and I was there in the next month. And now that's 5 years ago, and the store is my favorite part of the business. But along the way, having this business allowed me to start other businesses within the business. So I started an event called the Vegan Market, because I'm vegan, and we didn't have really any consistent vegan events in Massachusetts. So I started that in 2018. I've been doing it by myself for a really long time. So last year I recently stopped because I've got other plans, and I wanted to start a podcast with my friend. So I'm not so much doing that anymore, but that was an experience, and we'll talk about everything I learned with that eventually on the pod. And I also started Friends Forever Studio, which is an extension of my production space at this point. We host creative workshops with teachers who are artists and crafters, and they come and they teach their trade, and you can make stuff with your hands, and it's very cute and fun.
It's really awesome. If you live anywhere near Beverly, Massachusetts, you should check it out.
And that's called Friends Forever Studio, which did not inspire the name somehow. Maybe it was in the back of my head, but when I thought of the name and I texted Hayley, it just felt right. And then later she was like, it fits well with Friends Forever. And I was like, oh, it does.
It took us forever to name this podcast.
Yeah,
that was the hardest part.
Yeah, it took us a month.
Starting a podcast. It's coming up with a name.
Anyway, what else? I'm a Taurus. I don't know what else I am other than Taurus. Oh, Cancer rising, Capricorn moon. That's where the Capricorn placement is. I have 2 cats I'm fucking obsessed with. Anyway.
You are. 2 lady cats.
2 lady cats.
And I got 2 boy cats. They could get anyone can get married. They don't have to be boy and girl cats.
How dare you?
Cut that.
Anyways, what else should we?
Well, so I think
Did they know enough about us? Probably.
I mean, they're going to learn so much.
Those parts were boring.
Yeah,
they
well-
don't care about us. Let's move on.
Well, I wanted to say that if Katie didn't open a shop, we wouldn't be friends.
That's true.
So if you want friends, you could open a shop.
A big part of why I really love having the store is the community that it has built.
Hell yeah.
That's, I'm a fan of work to some degree, but like the community is really what keeps everything going and making my friends are the people who I've made through the store and the business. And sometimes when people call me a business friend, I'm like, I want to be a regular friend. I don't want to be a business friend. You're my friend.
I can still remember the day you asked me for my phone number over Instagram. I'm like, oh my God, we're real friends now.
Anyways, let's talk about our business ethoses. Wait, how do you say that plural?
Is it ethi?
Anyway,
Our business ethos.
I would say my main focus again is expanding on community, providing for the community, providing for my employees and my family, leading with a values-based mindset, and doing the right thing at the end of the day. I also am very, very adamant about doing something that I love every single day. There's no way in hell you're going to get me to do something I don't love unless you're Hayley sitting next to me and it's forcing me to work out all the time. Hayley is my personal
You'll love it
workout
someday.
coach, and
You'll
I hate
love
it
it
so
someday.
yeah, and then just doing what you love and doing what I love and not having to just chug along in life wondering if there was something better. I'm doing it. Like, this is the thing. I found it. And of course, I'd like to make money, but that's just for sure not the number one thing.
A
Number one
necessity,
reason. It's a necessity, but it's not
the number one
It's
thing.
not why I'm doing this. And also, just so you know, small business owners, not rich. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have a ton of money. The average income of a small business owner is like $67K a year or something. It's really, there's this like weird myth that small business owners have so much money.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where that started because
No.
that's just not true.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are that are making a ton of money, but that's just not the norm.
I think something that we're going to talk about a lot on this podcast that you're going to realize is that we talk a lot more about like horizontal growth versus vertical. So like the idea of, obviously we can't like have our small businesses if they don't make money because we have to pay to live. But the idea of like exponential growth, and you always have to make,
Expansion.
Yeah, like more, or,
now.
if you're not trying to open up your next store or you're not trying to, grow in these huge ways, it's not worth it. I think what's important to both of us is like, one, we want it to be sustainable. Two, we want to impact our community in positive ways. And I think we're both really big believers in like, if we have the opportunity to help someone else, like that is as worthwhile and valuable to us as like that's a really good indicator and marker of success to me, is if I can like help other people do their thing, even if it's not like money in my pocket, like I care a lot about that.
Same.
You're going to hear horizontal versus vertical a lot. And I think that's something that like, I think sets creative small businesses apart.
Well, yeah, I'd say, if you have the mindset that we're talking about, because I see
us.
Maybe just us.
Maybe it's just I was trying to be more general. Maybe it's just
we
us.
have found the secret, guys.
Don't make a lot of money.
I feel like I see a lot of small businesses trying to emulate corporate businesses in trying to like, okay, they opened one store and now their next big goal is like, how do I open store number 2 within 6 months? That has crushed so many people. Yeah. And then, other means of trying to scale too high, too fast. And that crushes people. Yeah. And so the model should be from other small businesses, not from what JCPenney, that's a bad idea. Not from what Amazon is doing.
And now disclose.
But don't be JCPenney.
What are we, a Sears? All right.
Why was it the first thing that came
That's
to
so
my
funny.
mind?
All right. Well, so my ethos is pretty similar. The ability to lean into my creative side and to work with my hands and to be like making our work is super important to me. I, for a really long time, was not making art, which was very sad. I exclusively worked in fitness for a really long time after having gone to art school and like spending most of my 20s making a living as a painter.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? That's news to me.
Oh. Well,
you learn something new every day about your friend of 2 years.
Maybe we'll talk more about that later. I really, I just, much like Katie, I really just want to be able to like love what I do every single day. And I am like, I will like wake up at like 6 a.m. and I'm like, I can't wait to get into the studio. Like, I'm just always very excited to go and do work. I am someone that really likes to work hard. I am like my friends, I'm a classic Capricorn. Like your girl just wants to work. But I don't want to work on stuff that I don't feel good about, that I don't like. I definitely take pride in having like a high standard for my work, no matter what it is, but having it be creative and something that is all mine, is something that I really value. Both my parents were small business owners, so it's something that I just like grew up with that as an example. And I love that, like, at least within my small business, and I'm lucky with my other job, I have a lot of flexibility, but I will outwork anyone. I hate having someone else manage my time. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I value my time more than anything else. And I don't, like, I've had one job where I've had, like, PTO. And, like, PTO is, like, inherently a cool thing to have. But I hated that it was, like, that it was being managed by someone else.
Sure.
Like, that drove me. I'm like, I'd rather just, like, not get paid, but have the freedom of my time. So, like, so that's something that, like, I'm, like, a really hard worker, but, like, don't manage my time.
Says the person who had 2 kids and they take up all her time.
I know. Also important to me, I want to provide for my kids an example of what it looks like to go after something that you really love and care about, and kind of going back to the, like, it doesn't always have to be about exponential growth in money. Like, you can choose to live a life that is values driven, and where maybe you're not, like, making a lot of money, but you really just enjoy your time. You enjoy the life that you have. That's such a huge goal for me. And it's, it's hard. It's hard work. You have to, like, really be dedicated to making that work because it is so hard. But it's really worth it. So I want to provide for my kids an example of that.
Sure.
And also, much like Katie, I care about being able to give back to my community and conduct my business in a way that is respectful and gives back as much as possible. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We have similar values, you
We
and I.
do.
That must be why we
This is
became
gonna
friends.
work. I think this is gonna
You
work.
want to talk about failure tolerance
sure
and
do.
trusting intuition?
I sure do.
So I think a lot of people end up not starting a small business because when they get an idea, they're too afraid to act on it because of failing, because
Oh,
they
yeah.
might fail. And I think that's such a lost, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's such a waste. Like, it's so sad to think that there are so many art creatives out there who aren't taking the chance, and we're missing out on their art because, well, they're afraid. But, there's a level of, I'm sure there's an element of, like, the economy
Yeah, I think
too,
so. I
and
think
the state of the world.
I think it's important to, like, recognize, like, the privilege
Yeah.
to be able to start a creative small business. I never take for granted the fact that I've had a lot of support, or I've just had, as a, like, personality trait, like, the ability to believe in myself. I know not everyone has that. Not everyone's born with the same skills, the same tools, or the same, like, support system, or, like, financial stability even. And I do, like, I think that's worth noting. I think that is something that we'll probably talk a lot about. That being said, like, you can still, like, kind of regardless of, I think, that particular station in life, you can still, like, rise above that and, like,
I think so.
put yourself out there 100%. But I do want to recognize that that can be a thing that stops
Lest
people.
we forget that this country was built on people pulling themselves up by their bootstraps.
Ain't that the truth?
Having nothing and
That's
then
true.
started businesses from nothing. I started this business
You are very much an example
from
of
very nothing.
from
Yeah.
like, not a lot of support.
Yeah.
Like, you made it happen, which is
Yeah, so we'll
Awesome.
get into, like the delusion of being a small business owner and, like,
Yes.
being a tad bit insane. And so, like, even though it's risky, it's still, like, we are proof that it is well worth the risk. And there's really no way around the risk and the fear of starting a business. The only way is to work through it.
through.
The only way is through.
Yes.
So whether you're in a small business or working towards something in small business, you do have to get really good at failing. So it's just going to keep happening, but you'll build a tolerance towards it, and you'll see after a while that it's not such a big deal anymore. I hate to say that because it sounds weird to say failing is not a big deal, but at this point, I'm nearly 12 years in, and when I make a mistake, it's like nothing. It just, like, flies right off my back these days.
Yeah.
But it was, very hard in the beginning, so much so that it's a core memory of mine, the first big mistake I made.
Do you want to talk about it?
And I'll tell you about it, and it's not a big deal when I say it out loud, but I bought a huge box of, it was like 1,000 lids for the candle jars, and they were the wrong thread. So with the jars that I use, there's 2 different styles, distinct styles, and the lid that I bought was the style for the jar that I do not use. that was a lot of money for me at the time, and it threw me into a huge tizzy. I like called my mom crying, and I was just like, how could I do this? And the reason it was such a big deal is because there's no way I could spend money to ship it back and then have it returned and then get the new lids. So instead I pivoted and got the jars that fit those lids and poured candles into the jars that fit the lid, and sort of just nobody noticed. Like it's literally the same style jar. It was the same color lid. Like not a single person noticed. And I can look back and say, like, if I made that mistake now, it wouldn't be a huge deal. But that was the first major one that I made that I was like, how you don't deserve a small business.
Who do you think you
ordered
are?
the wrong lids. But yeah, at this point, I make mistakes, and it's just like, whatever, dude, and you move on. So much so that, like, I don't remember the last time I made a mistake, and I'm making them all the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
I think I'm pretty good at, like, when I do, whether it's just like making a mistake or a miscalculation, or like, so Katie does candles. I'll say, like, both with like my first business and even with the ornaments, like, sometimes I have an idea and I think it's going to be like a banger, and it does nothing.
This happens constantly.
Like, so recently I did an event in Wakefield, and I had made all these magnets celebrating their, I do like very, very locally inspired stuff. And I did these magnets celebrating their 4th of July. I was like, these are going to be a hit. Friends, I didn't sell one. And that was a bummer, because I spent, like, you spend time working on these things. I could have spent time working on stuff that definitely would have sold. And, like, you know, it was a lesson, and it was, you know, it reminded me maybe to not do magnets, to stick with what I know. Like, you know, I'm just pretty good at, like, instead of beating myself up or feeling like a failure or being like, oh my God, I suck, like, people don't like my artwork. Like, it was just like, this just wasn't
right.
It didn't resonate. And I've had, like, plenty of products that have done that, where I think it's going to be a hit, and it's not, and it's okay. You just learn.
We all do. Yeah. So I think the key here is recognize the mistake, learn from it, and then you just try not to do it again. You might do it again, but just try not to do it again. Make it a learning moment for yourself. But as an example, so sure, you were jazzed about this design that you made. However, this past Saturday, we did an event together where you made 6 new ornaments, was it? Or 4? For the Beverly 400.
4.
5. You were
5.
Excited for those, thought they were bangers, and they ended up being bangers.
They were bangers.
And they were very successful. So it can go both ways. You just really never know. And this is why you keep trying.
You have to keep throwing the spaghetti at the wall, so to speak, and keep trying new things and knowing they might fail. This might not be a thing, and it's going to be annoying and a bummer that you spent time working on it, or you spent money on the materials, and you know, and it didn't pan out, but you learn, and you take stock and note of, like, why didn't this work out? And you just try to, like, not make that mistake again.
The only way through that is doing it, and then, you know, after a couple years, you're not making as many of those. You just don't know until you try it, though.
Yep.
Experiment and then pivot. Experiment, pivot. Yep. Find what works. Create your systems. So exposure therapy, so 100%. To speak.
Yep. I want to talk about my studio build out.
Okay.
Because this was a big opportunity for failure. This could have been a real This could have been a real mistake.
So tell us about where your studio is and what.
Sure.
First.
So my studio is my garage, my house. And when I started Gem Cadet Art, which was my first business, I was just working in a room in my house. I had kind of converted a space we weren't really using much into just my little studio and, you know, low stakes, right? A desk and some organization stuff for my things. And I decided at the end of 2023 that I was just wrapping up, you know, the holiday season, and the year didn't go great. Like, I hadn't grown any from the year prior. And I knew that I wanted to do something that was going to be a little bit more lucrative for me. I wanted to be able to spend more time in my studio. I knew that the thing that I enjoyed was being in my studio and working with my hands and working on my artwork. But I didn't know really what that next pivot was going to be, but I figured I need to expand my skill set. just a little bit of backstory is I was doing a lot of different types of things. I was making jewelry. I did macrame. I had stones. I had prints of my paintings. Like I just had a lot of different stuff, and I knew that like I wanted to do something that was a little bit more specific. And what was becoming really popular were laser machines. Things like a lot of people know. Do you know what the Glowforge is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kept on getting a lot of ads for the Glowforge, and I was just starting to get exposed to like this kind of artwork and what you can make with lasers, and I was super interested, and it became a fixation. I have ADHD, so I like hyperfixate on things. So all of a sudden I was like to my husband, I was like, I need one of these. I simply must have it. And I'm, doing research, and the first one that I was looking at was like $1,500. I was like, oh my God, that's such a big investment. $1,500 whole dollars. And my husband, being very supportive, was like, you should, you should do it. Like you have the money now, you just had your holiday season. Like this would be a good time to invest in something, like go for it. Basically just like making me feel better about like, whether to invest in this thing that I didn't know a whole lot about. Ultimately, I ended up investing in a $5,000 laser. So I realized that the first one that I was looking at was not going to really do what I wanted it to do. Mm-hmm. And once you get into the rhythm of like researching something, my path took me towards I have an X-Tool P2, if anyone knows lasers. And it's a big machine. It's $5,000. You have to be able to ventilate it to the outside. So now I'm like, okay, I really want this laser, but I have to be able to ventilate it outside. And it was too big to have in the current space that I had. So we were trying to figure out where it could go. So then I actually think it was Adam that was like, well, why don't you put it in the garage? And I was like, well, we're going to...
Adam is your husband?
Yes, Adam is my husband. So then I'm like, well, we're going to have to then clean out the garage. Mm-hmm. And so it went from a $1,500 laser to a $5,000 laser that we were going to put in the garage that we now had to empty and put into a shed. So now we had to buy a shed that we put in the backyard. This was a huge undertaking. If you've ever put up and this is a real this isn't like a $600 special from Home Depot. This was an actual you could almost live in this little tiny house that we put in the backyard because it had to house all of the stuff that was in our garage.
Okay.
So now we've invested in this shed for the backyard. We had to renovate a part of our property to put the shed in. Then we had to renovate the garage. The garage was legit could have been asbestos. It was gross. We had to completely finish it out as you would finish out any other room in your house. So it has a real floor, trimmed out windows, electrical, had to put heaters in. This turned into a major project.
It's more than $5,000.
Yes, this was and Adam was so supportive. It was just let's just, let's just do this. This is something that you really want to do. And he was so supportive that I was like, all right. And the entire time I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I even going to make? I don't even know what my product's going to be. And
did not even have an idea what you would be doing on this X-Tool.
I literally had a Pinterest board of ideas. That was the extent of it. I had never used the laser before. So this
you're renovating half of your property.
Yeah, so this so from the time I initially thought of the laser until the build out was done and I turned on the laser was 6 months.
Oh my God.
And so I remember using it for the first time and being so scared to turn it on, so scared to use it. And I just had so much anxiety and fear that I'd wasted all of this money for our family. We could have taken that money and done a renovation on our home that everyone could have enjoyed. This was a very specific, very selfish thing, I felt but Adam, I guess, believed in me. He knows that I'm a hard worker. He knew that I was going to do something with it. And
was it your gut mainly driving you through that fear?
I just felt really the fear and anxiety of it having been a waste was so big that there was no, I had to make it work.
Yeah.
I had to do something with it. Mm-hmm. This wasn't something that I could back out of or
Right. And you hadn't made that first ornament yet.
No.
You stumbled onto that ornament.
I made a bunch of different things with the laser first before I came onto that ornament.
Yeah.
And the style that I do the ornaments in was an experiment of I wonder if I can take this drawing and then draw it onto the wood, and then I can paint it. And I mean, I'm a painter. I've been painting my entire life. I have a degree in fine arts painting. So the painting thing was like something that I had, down pat, but like the actual laser and getting to know the software and the settings, it's a lot. Like,
Sure.
And I had no one to teach me. There's no one that I could call and be like, hey, can you come over and show me how to use my laser? Like, I had to like really just experiment with it. And it just, for me, like the option for it to not be something was not that. Like, I had to do something with it because we had put so much into it blindly. And that was scary, and it was a big risk, and it could have gone nowhere. But ultimately, by the end of 2024, I had already paid off the machine. And by the end of 2025, I had paid off the entire renovation and then some.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And also, can we talk about how Adam was so supportive in this?
And good boy.
It's not totally necessary to be able to move forward with having a small business, but also he has a small business. Yes. He comes from a small business background.
Yeah, he's a third generation small business owner. So I think for him, he knows that like sometimes you just gotta try.
Take the risk.
Just take the risk. He's seen his family do it. He's seen his father and his uncles have incredible boom times with their businesses, and also like, have to like really make some like crazy, insane sacrifices, which I won't share on here because it's not my business, but to keep their business afloat. And he just, I don't know,
like mob stuff. You think?
No, not mob stuff, but. He just, it was I'm grateful that he, believed in me and that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There to help me.
Hell yeah, Adam. More men should be like Adam.
More men like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about trusting intuition, that's how I think my biggest risk, if we're talking about equitable like risks that we've both taken, is when I opened my store in 2021. It was 2021. It was mid 2021. It was like a year and a half into the pandemic, and people weren't opening stores. That when I look back, that it feels crazy that I did that, but in the moment I was like, of course this is the next thing I'm gonna do. Like, this makes the most sense, not even thinking about the impact that it would have on the business, because my gut feeling was just so strong. And I'll tell you, I had zero fear going into
incredible.
it, and I don't know if that's just like insane of me or what, but the gut intuition was so strong that guided the whole thing. And then here we are, and thank goodness, because I feel like today I might not be as I look back and I'm like, that was fucking crazy that I did that. But there is no small business without risk,
Yeah, no, it's a risk. There's no there's not a lot of safety nets for small business. You have a bad week or two at your regular job, and it probably goes kind of unnoticed. You have a bad week or two as a small business owner, and like you're struggling. Yeah, you're spiraling mentally and financially. You could be in a real tricky spot. So if you're like a super risk averse person, this might not be the life for you.
Yeah. And a lot of these conversations might make you realize that.
You might be someone that has thought like, I definitely want to start a small business, and then you might listen to us and be like, that sounds
like, for instance, I think I worked 7 days a week for the entirety of my career until I met my partner, who had a regular weekday job. And in order to see him on the weekends, I had to stop working on the weekends. And that was my motivation, to not work every single day. But I worked every single day because I thought that I had, and it was necessary for a while there, but I really didn't have to after a while. But I was in that mode of like, if I'm not working, then I'm bad or something. But come to find out that actually taking time off is good for your creative juices. It actually benefited the business to take time off.
Yeah.
It is necessary in the beginning to invest your time deeply. And if you can't do that, then you really shouldn't get into small business.
Yeah. Yes. You need to be willing to put the time in. I think what's tough, and this is like maybe cautionary, is like, even if you're not actively working on your small business, it's always occupying mind space and bandwidth.
You can't clock out of your small business.
You're
really
always
can't.
you're always thinking about it in some capacity, and there are freedoms that come with owning your small business, but there's a lot of ways in which it tethers you down in a way that like a more like classic regular job.
Do you know that
traditional job.
saying of like, find what you love and you work
you'll
a
never
day.
work a day
We
in
have
your
found
life.
what we love, but we are working so fucking
Yeah,
hard.
I would
promise.
definitely say I'm working.
That is a fucking lie.
Yeah,
It
that
is
doesn't make
a
any
lie.
sense.
The difference is that we enjoy it.
For sure,
It's
yes.
very hard work, and I'm never going to lie about that. It is difficult.
Yeah.
And there's so many days in the last 12 years that I've been like, I'm going to quit. And actually quitting felt harder than continuing the business.
Yeah, right.
So anything else on fear and intuition that we want to cap this off with?
I don't know if I have anything to cap it off with. I think it's, something we're going to talk on a lot is that unnameable, intangible thing about, I think more specifically about creatives than anything else, is the desire to push forward on an idea, even if it seems so silly, like Christmas ornaments year round. That doesn't, when I tell you, sometimes, I don't like to admit this, sometimes when people like ask me like, what do you do for, like, I feel like silly telling them like, I make Christmas ornaments year round. And I'm like, it sounds so silly.
Yeah.
It sounds so implausible.
People think that making candles for a living is crazy.
Right,
I don't think it's so crazy. Sometimes I'll have like an out of body moment where I'm like, I make fucking candles for that pays my bills. But like people are really mind blown that it's a full-time gig.
Right.
Which shows you how special it is.
It is special.
Yeah.
We're special. And
right.
you're special too, creatives.
Yeah.
You are
You
too.
can do it. Work through the fear.
Yeah.
Do it with fear. Do it. Trust your intuition, first of all.
Yes.
Fucking trust your intuition. If
Yeah.
something says don't do it, then don't do it. But if it says
Sure.
do it, fucking run at that. Run at that feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we did say at the top of this that we will be giving homework.
Maybe not
I think,
every episode.
Well, I think our homework is listen to episode 2. And if you don't already follow us on Instagram, Small Biz Forever Pod.
What's our podcast called?
It took me a moment. Small Biz Forever Pod on Instagram and Threads.
I have not started I have started the threads, but I have
It
not.
automatically
It
posts
did
the thread.
not. No,
we just
it
got to
does not.
toggle that.
Okay,
little
fine.
button.
Well, anyway, we'll be on threads.
We'll be on there. Threads. And you can sign up for our newsletter to stay in the loop. And
The newsletter can be found from the link in our social media bio on Instagram, which means you're legally required to follow us in order to get to the bio. Anyways, tell us what you thought of the pod. Or if we should just quit and call it a day.
Don't tell me that. I'm not interested in hearing
We'll keep
that.
going even if it sucks because
Yeah.
Hayley loves to work.
I do.
Okay,
All right.
bye. Want a chocolate?